Oh, take me down to Asteroid City where the cast is big and the costumes are pretty. Oh, won't you please, Wes Anderson? Yeah. Hello, I'm Scott. This is my channel, CineRam. Asteroid City, the new film by Wes Anderson. I just saw it last week for the first time. I'm planning to see it again very soon before it leaves theaters because there's a lot to take in. And I've been basically studying Wes Anderson for the past several weeks. I've rewatched all the films in his filmography, starting with his first film, Bottle Rocket. And I wanted to sort of prepare myself and really get a sense and sort of watch the evolution of his visual style and the structure of his films and things like that. Not that I was unfamiliar with his work. There was only one film of his that I hadn't seen before this previous marathon that I did, which wasn't really a marathon because it took place over the course of several weeks, but whatever. But anyway, I don't want to just drag on forever, so let's get started. Bottle Rocket was his first movie. The Wilson brothers, Owen and Luke, were the main characters in it. Owen Wilson co-wrote the script with him. And this is a cute little indie movie about a couple of guys that try and pull a robbery, and it goes swimmingly. Everything goes great. James Caan is also in the movie. Although this is a fun movie, it's not really indicative of Wes Anderson's particular visual style, which will be well established in the future films. But it's a good movie. I enjoyed it. Rushmore came out a couple years later. When I first saw this movie, I didn't care for it very much, primarily because of the Jason Schwartzman character. I thought he was pretty irritating. But then again, you know, a good movie doesn't necessarily have to have a likable main character. I liked it more this time, although I'm not really all that crazy about the music. There's a lot of songs in this movie, and it seems like every time a dialogue scene stops, another song starts to play, and it got sort of irritating after a while. Aside from that, though, I think it's pretty good. And I really like Olivia Williams. I've seen her in a lot of stuff over the years, but you know, this was about over 25 years ago, and boy, is she beautiful. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. Anyway, good one on there. And also, the Max Fisher walk, the slow motion thingy, that's sort of established. He does that in a few other movies. Wes Anderson, he has characters do that. But it's really well established in Rushmore. Royal Tenenbaums came out in 2001. I liked it when I first saw it. Didn't like it so much now. I was sort of bummed out by it, mostly because everybody in the movie, with the exception of maybe two characters, is really bummed out and glum and gloomy. So yeah, I wasn't crazy about it. Normally Owen Wilson is a real bright spot in any cast that he's in. Not so much here. Gene Hackman, of course, has lots of fun as the jerk of a family patriarch. He has a lot of good moments, a lot of great lines. And he's clearly having fun, I think. Anyway, so Tenenbaums I wasn't all that crazy about. Most of these movies I did like, but Tenenbaums was one that just kind of went, gosh, you know, I wish that I'd enjoy that more. Those first three films were co-written by Owen Wilson. He co-wrote the screenplays for all of them. One thing I noticed is that the screenplays are all co-written by Wes Anderson and at least one other person. But all the way up until Moonrise Kingdom, he shares screenplay credit with his collaborators. And starting with his next film, Grand Budapest Hotel, he takes sole screenwriting credit, and his collaborators only get a storyboard credit, no matter how many there are. I'm not really sure what the reason is for that, but I noticed it. Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou came out, was his next one that came out in 2004. More special effects, bigger budget. There's a lot of shooting on the water, on boats and things like that, and I know that not all of it was done for real, but a lot of it was. It seems to have quite a broader scope on this movie. Now, I didn't actually go and see this in the theater when it came out. In fact, I hadn't bothered to watch it at all up until recently, in the last few weeks. My marathon was the first time I actually watched this movie, but I actually found it quite a lot of fun. I'm not really sure why I didn't dig it, maybe just too self-consciously weird. I didn't like the title. The full title is The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou rather than just The Life Aquatic. Whatever. Anyway, the next movie that came out, Darjeeling Limited, is my favorite Wes Anderson movie. It still is, even now. And it's not the favorite pick of a lot of people. Most people would rank it kind of low on their list. but I think it's really good, and I'm starting to see the cleverness, the sort of the cleverness in the writing as far as referring to flashbacks that haven't happened yet and things like that, and there's hints as to behavior, I guess you could say. It's sort of like the flip side of Royal Tenenbaums, in that there you have siblings dealing with an absent mother rather than an absent father. But also I just wanted to mention that there's a short film that is included on some of the discs. And I actually went to see this in the theater with the short playing in front of it, and I think that's the complete viewing experience right there. The short is called Hotel Chevalier. Anyway, the next movie was Fantastic Mr. Fox, and is another stop-motion movie. And it's mostly a cast of animals. It's based on a Roald Dahl book, children's book, and I didn't remember very much about this from my previous viewing, aside from maybe one line by Meryl Streep, but I enjoyed the movie, and it has a lot of energy, and it's a lot of fun. It's very, very light. The whole situation, the conflict is very light. It deals with some of the same themes of some of his other films, but it's done in a very lighthearted way, I guess you could say. So yeah, and the style that he's establishing here, this very rigid visual style that Wes Anderson is fond of, is well served by stop motion animation. Now, Moonrise Kingdom is probably my least favorite Wes Anderson movie at this point, and that's basically comes down to some of the decisions involving the young actors who play the main characters. They do okay, but they're not great. And on top of that, Wes Anderson has them do some kind of uncomfortable things in State of Undress that I wasn't crazy about, and I wish they'd done something different there. The movie itself is fine. It's got a good cast, it's got an interesting story. One other thing I noticed is that he sort of tends to skip over key moments and action scenes just because he's working with low budget. I have some... I think there's some questionable aspects of the movie that I'm not crazy about, involving the kids, essentially. Grand Budapest Hotel. This movie came out a couple years later. It's probably his most widely revered film. It got a bunch of Oscar nominations, including Best Picture. It's his most rewatchable movie as far as I'm concerned. It's the one I've seen most number of times. And actually, I went into this marathon of rewatching all of his movies because I rewatched Grand Budapest Hotel first and went, geez, that was fun. Let me rewatch all his other movies before the new one comes out. And so that's why we're here right now. Grand Budapest is lots of fun. There's lots to discover about it upon rewatches. So many great characters and so many great scenes. The music is excellent. The music won an Oscar for its score. You know what I mean, the composer. We sort of get the intricate structure of his future films at this point, where you have the author, basically, of the story. It's, a book, basically. Grand Budapest Hotel is like a novel that he wrote based on this meeting that he had with a guy in the 60s who tells a story about something that happened, decades ago. And so there's an intricate structure there, but it's a lot of fun to go back and really study and discover new things about it. Great cast, just lots of fun. That's like my number 2 on my list right there, Grand Budapest. Isle of Dogs is also really high on my list. It's a great story. I'm so impressed with the animation, the stop motion. It's all basically a bunch of dogs who have been exiled from the city in Japan. Supposedly it takes place in the future. That's cool. That's unusual for Wes Anderson. A really great story, a lot of fun characters, and just really, really impressive. Just very impressive movie. I think I've seen it actually 3 times, but it might only be 2. I don't remember watching it a second time. I saw it once in the theater and was just very impressed by it. His most recent film before Asteroid City came out a couple years ago, The French Dispatch. And there's a longer version of that title, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. This is an anthology movie, and anthology movies I've never really been crazy about because you don't spend enough time with the same set of characters. Some anthology movies you're probably familiar with would be the Sin City movies, and My Blueberry Nights, and 4 Rooms. Those are anthologies. They're like a few separate stories all put together to make one feature film. So in The French Dispatch, basically what it's supposed to be is a visual representation of a newspaper supplement, a magazine, called The French Dispatch. So you have actual page counts at the beginning of each chapter, as though you're watching basically the articles that were written by the characters. The main character of each is a writer who's telling a story about something related to the subject. Basically, it's all about journalism. I've read that it's a tribute kind of to New York, the New Yorker, and the journalists who write for that particular periodical. There's a bunch of them that are specifically cited in the closing credits. And some of the writers I've read are clearly inspired by real writers for the New Yorker, in particular James Baldwin. So this is a movie that has different parts, some of which are better than others. My favorite part is the one with Benicio del Toro as the artist in prison. Adrien Brody is also in it. He's very funny. In that particular, is probably my favorite Adrien Brody performance, aside from The Pianist. And then you have the middle chapter, which is Timothée Chalamet and Frances McDormand. And the final chapter has Jeffrey Wright as the main character. So yeah, it's a good movie. I like the movie, but I'm not moved by it the way that I am by other movies, just because, you know, the story itself is just so separated from, you know, an emotional connection based on the structure. Finally, we have Asteroid City. Asteroid City is ostensibly about a family that's basically stuck in a town in New Mexico or Nevada, basically. They've been quarantined there because there was an alien UFO sighting. So they're stuck there with a whole bunch of other strangers. But the story that we're watching is actually a play that's being put on by a group of actors in New York City. And so there's a television special being made about them. So the movie is essentially a TV special about a bunch of actors putting on a play that's set in the American West involving a UFO sighting. Yeah, and so you have the actors, some of the actors playing multiple roles. They're actors who are playing actors playing characters. You know, like I said, this is kind of complicated, and so I've only seen it one time. I don't have a lot to say about it right now, other than I thought it was pretty good. I enjoyed it, but I'm looking forward to seeing it again and discovering more about it. So that's where we're at. That is my little Wes Anderson mini director series. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you haven't already, please check out another channel that I like called Ryan Cam. He is doing an extensive director series on Wes Anderson, devoting one video to each of his films. I've linked to it in previous videos, but I'll link it again. It's right there in the description if you'd like to check a look at it. Check it out. And I hope you do. Thank you very much for watching, and I guess maybe it'll be another 2 or 3 years before another Wes Anderson movie, so we have a lot to look forward to. Take it easy, guys. See you again soon.